Life is unexpected and rarely goes the way that we planned. I mean, sometimes things happen better than what we thought, and other times we're left to deal with disappointment and have to figure out how to make the best of the situation. Hopefully, as you mature, you learn to find peace and joy even when things aren't going the way that you want. For me, I found that in my relationship with God and in cultivating healthy relationships with my family, with my husband, with close friendships, and finding different ways to serve. But today, people are looking for unconventional ways to find peace and happiness, and unconventional ways to find joy. This is exactly why I think this 37-year-old dog mom went viral recently.
I'm 36 and I still live with my parents. Here's my story and how I came to still be living with them. I went to university at 18, moved out of home to do the full experience. I graduated in law in 2008, which was obviously a pretty crappy year to graduate. In September 2009, I set off for Australia and New Zealand for a few months by myself. Had the most amazing time, and then I came back to work for a British ski company in France. I then ended up doing 4 years of summer and winter seasons back to back, and lots of solo travel in between. I love Sydney so much. In 2009, I decided to move there in 2013. Visa never happened, so I moved back to the UK in 2014, and I got myself a job at a bank in London. In 2017, I then had the opportunity to move to Singapore. Life in Singapore was fantastic, and this is also the first time I ever got to afford to live by myself too. In 2020, COVID hit, and thank God I had my dog to live with me, because it was pretty tough living alone, especially in a country with such stricter rules. COVID also helped me realise that despite the successful career I'd created for myself, and the amazing lifestyle I had, I was actually pretty miserable. I hated my job, I was pretty lonely, and the fancy lifestyle just wasn't enough. So in 2021, I took the big leap to move back home to the UK. I never intended to still be living with my parents. As I'm still single, I'm just not in a hurry to move up by myself anywhere, even though I can afford to. So my reason for staying here is just because I want to, and that's reason enough.
Now, first thing that stood out to me about her TikTok video is that while she spent a lot of her years building her career, focusing on herself, going and having these different experiences in different countries, solo travel, traveling with friends, she woke up one day and realized she was miserable because she was alone. And the way that she was able to remedy that was to go back home and live with her parents, and she found solace in her dog. Now, I know she says that she's happy and she's doing life that works best for her, and hashtag no judgment. If that works for you, then hats off to you. I mean, even if I think of my own experience, when I was younger, I just assumed that as women matured, they got married and have kids. Like, it just would naturally happen. But I can look at my own circle of friends and see that many of them are still at home with their parents, many of them single, some of them single with a kid, some of them living at home to save up. I mean, there's all different kinds of reasons, but nevertheless, it is not uncommon, especially for millennials, to have them at home with their parents, single. And again, this is precisely why I think this video went viral. Not that she was necessarily saying anything so significant, but that she was saying something so relatable. This isn't just a phenomenon on TikTok. I mean, there's been different news sources that have spoken to this. Business Insider recently showed a report reinforcing again that more and more millennials are living at home with their parents, especially after the pandemic. And one of the things that inspired her to start her TikTok page was trying to create a space for those who fit outside of societal norms, those who aren't married, those who don't have kids, those who maybe don't want kids, those who are single and living at home with their parents and they see no reason to leave. But I appreciate her being honest, because that is real. That is absolutely real. Why there is such a push for women today to focus on their career, and there's all this talk of them not needing men because they can pay their own bills, they can pay their own money. No one ever wants to talk about the loneliness. We always like to brush over the other side of being single and independent. Yes, there are some upsides. You can go travel, you can be with friends if you can afford it, right? If you can afford to travel, if you can afford to go in different countries, right? So there are upsides to it, but we can't pretend like there aren't downsides and there aren't challenges with doing things alone all the time. That has its own challenges. Not to mention that if you are a single woman and you are traveling a lot, sometimes there can be this expectation that you are a hoe, that you were going around and sleeping with men in different countries, because some solo travelers have been known to do that. And I know that's unfair because I'm not saying that is what every woman does, but some dudes will look at you side-eyed. If you are a woman that has done a lot of solo traveling, they will definitely look at you side-eyed. So sometimes actually the single independent thing can work against you in certain contexts if you really are trying to settle down and have a life partner or marry. But nevertheless, it ain't all easy. No matter how it looks, it don't matter how it's portrayed as a better option, as the better choice. It's not easy on a psychological level. And then it's also not easy on a financial level. She is a prime example of a woman who said, look, I had a good career, but I was miserable. And she even said in other videos that even with her career, she was still limited. There's still things that she couldn't do financially because she was solely depending for herself. Whereas now, because she's living with her parents, there are more things that she can actually do because she has that financial freedom. And so my bigger point is this whole single life, that modern woman thing that's being pushed as if marriage is like, as if it's not really important, and pushing single life as if that is the better option. Let's not also forget, not only is single life hard, at a certain point, you are literally fighting against thousands of years of evolutionary biology, right? For so many years, the human condition has been men and women getting together and working together and build a family. And so in this modern setup, people now have the freedom to do things differently, but they still have those inbuilt maternal, communal, relational desires, because that's how we've been operating for thousands of years. This current setup, where people are a lot more individualistic, is a modern phenomenon. And so this is why you can see people still going for what they want and not going against, traditional or old school standards, but still feeling the tension and sometimes still feeling the loneliness because of how we were created to be. So again, no shade to somebody who decides they want to live life differently. I just say be honest about it and be honest about what the repercussions are, what the challenges, what the pluses are, and then plan accordingly. And that's what I can appreciate about this channel. At least I think it gives a bit more of a realistic view of what single life as a woman will likely look like as you continue to mature. You may be at home with your parents or not. Maybe you'll be living with a roommate or not. Maybe you'll have a dog or a cat or plants or all of the above. If that works for you, great. If it doesn't work for you, then plan accordingly. And don't listen to what these folks are saying online. That marriage doesn't matter, that relationship doesn't matter, that family doesn't matter, because if you know at the end of the day, you being a 40-year-old woman living at home with your parents and a dog and some plants is going to make you depressed, maybe this is the time to ask yourself, hey, am I living a life that is reflective of my values, or am I just following the status quo? Now, what I like about this, what I appreciate about Lindsay Jane Gordon's channel, is that this to me is actually a more accurate description of what being a modern woman is about. We get depictions of women going abroad and just living the best life, killing it in the marketplace, killing it in corporate, killing it in the business realm, just making 6-7 figures, flying around in first class, and just living the time of their life. But in reality, most single women are not living like that. They're average earners. They may be able to go on a trip here or there, but as they get older, as they mature, they're on a limited budget. They're on a limited income. They can't afford to fly first class unless perhaps they're at home living with their parents, able to cut on other costs. They're not going around every single weekend flying internationally because that costs a lot of money. They're on a budget, or they're sharing a room, they're sharing an apartment, or they're at home with their parents. Like, this is the reality that needs to be said. I'm not here to shame anybody, whatever their choice is. Of course, I will always support and advocate for marriage, provided a person is marriageable. But if she is not, and if marriage is not her desire, or is that's not what she sees in her future, I see nothing wrong with being single, but I think it also needs to be clearly stated that life is difficult in that way too. And I also wonder what will happen. What will happen as this trend continues, if we continue to see more and more women not get married, stay at home with their parents, not have kids, and they're okay with that. If enough women do that, we see the population decline. If enough men don't get married, we see the population decline. And while on a personal level, I think there is absolutely nothing wrong with a person deciding to take this route. If this becomes a larger trend, after a while, that starts to impact the society. Because if no children are being born into the society, then no society exists. So it'll be interesting to see how this trend evolves or devolves over the next couple of years and decades. But what do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know. Leave your questions, comments, concerns in the comment section below. Thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far, and we'll talk later. Bye.